At New York Airport, college student Chloe calls her mother, Irene, to say she's back home. But Irene tells her the birthday party for her father has been canceled. He was suddenly called into work. Since her dad is a pilot, Chloe decides to wait at the airport, hoping to see him. Meanwhile, TV reporter Cameron is stopped by a Christian woman who urges him to accept Jesus, claiming the disasters he reports on every day can all be explained by the Bible. Chloe steps in and challenges her, pointing out that innocent people suffer for the mistakes of the past and that God works in mysterious ways isn't a real answer. The woman walks away and Cameron thanks Chloe for backing him up. Chloe admits her mother is also deeply religious. Out in the parking lot, Chloe's father, Rayford, takes off his wedding ring before meeting Hattie, a flight attendant he's having an affair with. Inside the terminal, Rayford spots Chloe and hugs her. But she isn't impressed. She saw him flirting with Hattie and calls him out, reminding him that her parents' marriage has been rocky for a long time. Rayford explains that he and Irene married young and grew apart, adding that Irene's obsession with religion has made life unbearable. Chloe notices his missing ring and realizes he likely accepted this flight just to spend time with Hattie. Brushing it off, Rayford gives her his car keys and leaves. Later, Chloe has coffee with Cameron. They talk about how strange it is when people thank God for disasters. Their conversation is interrupted when an employee delivers two U2 concert tickets for London, a gift from Rayford that took weeks to arrange. Chloe realizes this proves his trip wasn't sudden at all, but carefully planned. Hurt and angry, she gives the tickets to Cameron and asks him to deliver them instead. As Cameron and Rayford board the plane, Chloe heads to her father's car and finds his wedding ring. She drives home, greets her younger brother Remy, and sits down to talk with Irene. At first, the conversation is warm, but when Chloe mentions the airport incident, Irene slips into preaching again. Frustrated, Chloe storms off. To clear her head, she takes Remy to the mall. Remy admits he's worried about their parents, but Chloe reassures him, and they share a hug. Suddenly, a flash of light blinds her. When she looks down, she's holding nothing but Remy's clothes.
He's gone.
Chaos erupts as people realize their loved ones have vanished. At the mall, a driverless car crashes, killing a passenger inside. Looters storm the stores, and abandoned bags are scattered everywhere. Outside, traffic is gridlocked. Meanwhile, aboard Rayford's flight, some passengers chat casually, while others remain quiet. Once airborne, Rayford slips out of the cockpit to secretly meet Hattie and show her the tickets Cameron delivered. But turbulence suddenly rocks the plane. Passengers panic as they realize many people have disappeared mid-flight. The plane dips dangerously, and Rayford rushes back to the cockpit, only to discover his co-pilot is gone. He seizes the controls and steadies the aircraft. Cameron films the chaos as terrified passengers pound on the cockpit door, demanding answers. To calm them, Rayford increases cabin pressure, forcing oxygen masks to drop. Struggling to breathe, the passengers return to their seats. Once the situation is under control, Rayford steps out and firmly tells them to stay seated, reminding everyone that fear itself is their biggest threat right now. Hattie soon realizes another flight attendant has vanished. Shaken, she runs to Rayford for reassurance. With tension still high, Cameron interviews passengers on camera. Nobody saw anything unusual. The vanishings happened instantly, leaving only clothes behind. In the restroom, a distressed woman takes drugs and returns with words scrawled on her hand. It's not real. Cameron gently tells her to rest. Meanwhile, a Muslim passenger suggests prayer, but another man argues about different gods. Before it escalates, Rayford announces they're turning back toward New York. Back on the ground, Chloe fights through the panicked crowd at the mall. She searches desperately for Remy, but is forced to run when a small plane crashes into the parking lot, destroying her father's car. With no transport, she begins walking. Two bikers speed by and steal Remy's bag from her hands. Up ahead, a school bus plunges into the river. Chloe rushes to help but finds the bus completely empty. She finally reaches town and tries calling home, but no one answers. Around her, cars collide and ambulances rush the injured away. As she moves through the chaos, the glass doors of a jewelry shop suddenly shatter. A dead robber's body is thrown outside, and the store clerk points a gun at Chloe, forcing her to run. She eventually reaches the hospital, where a sign scrawled in black reads, "The end is here." Inside, breaking news confirms the disappearances are global. The hospital is overwhelmed with desperate families searching for children. Chloe sneaks through a back entrance and discovers every newborn in the nursery has vanished. A grieving mother tells her children of all ages are gone, not just here, but around the world. Meanwhile, in the sky, Rayford spots another plane flying dangerously close. He radios the pilot, but no one responds. That aircraft, too, has lost its pilots, though a few passengers remain. Rayford maneuvers to avoid a head-on collision, scraping wings in the process. Cameron watches in horror as the other plane bursts into flames and plummets. Minutes later, passengers call for Hattie when they notice something strange on the wing. She asks Cameron to snap a photo and show it to Rayford, who realizes the wing is barely intact and will make landing almost impossible. Cameron confirms the plane is losing fuel. Suddenly, flames erupt on the wing, shaking the aircraft violently and sending passengers into a frenzy. Both Hattie and Cameron do their best to keep everyone calm. Cameron reports back to Rayford, who admits there's nothing he can do except try to reach New York before the fuel runs out. Eventually, the fire dies down on its own, but the fuel loss is so severe that they'll need to descend much earlier than expected. Back on the ground, Chloe returns to her neighborhood and finds people mourning missing loved ones. She races into her own house only to discover it empty. Her mother's jewelry lies abandoned in the shower, and the voicemail plays nothing but static. When she finds Irene's Bible, Chloe furiously throws it out the window. Desperate for answers, she visits the local pastor, who explains that this is the Rapture. The faithful and all children have been taken to heaven. He admits he's still here because, despite years of preaching, he never truly believed himself. He warns that God took the innocent to protect them from the dark times ahead. Enraged, Chloe screams at him and storms out. Aboard the plane, Rayford searches through his co-pilot's belongings and finds a watch engraved with John 3 verse 16, a Bible verse promising eternal life to those who believe. Hattie brings over another attendant's things, where they find a notebook full of Bible study notes. Rayford pieces it together. This must be the Rapture, and he admits to Hattie that Irene had been right all along. Hattie dismisses the idea and storms away. Moments later, Rayford finally receives a response on the radio. The mysterious disappearances are happening worldwide. Airports are overflowing with wrecked planes, making it impossible to land, and he's instructed to head inland. Before he can reply, the radio cuts out again. Since Cameron is a journalist, he carries a satellite phone. Rayford asks him to call Chloe, but Cameron explains he's been trying all day with no luck. Pulling out the envelope that once held the concert tickets, Rayford shows Cameron the heartbreaking note Chloe left and admits he regrets blaming Irene for their broken marriage. He confesses it was his fault. Every time Irene brought up faith, he chose to walk away. Meanwhile, Chloe wanders to the top of a bridge, weighed down by grief. After staring into the horizon, she whispers an apology to her mother. Just as she prepares to jump, Cameron's call finally gets through. On the other end, Chloe hears her father's voice. Both confess their love and agree that Irene had been right all along. Rayford admits he doesn't know if they'll find a safe place to land, but before he can say more, the signal cuts out again. Even so, the call gives Chloe hope. She hurries off the bridge and runs back into town. Spotting an abandoned bike, she rides off quickly to help. At the same time, Rayford gathers the passengers and warns them of their slim chances, urging everyone to pray. As the plane begins to lose altitude, Chloe arrives at a construction site and jumps into a truck, clearing debris to open up a landing space. She reconnects with Cameron and tells him she's found a possible spot. Because the navigation system is down, Cameron asks Chloe to use her phone's compass app to give them coordinates. She does, but the call cuts again. Using Cameron's phone map, Rayford adjusts course toward her location. Unfortunately, it's too dark to spot the clearing, and fuel is nearly gone. In desperation, Chloe calls back once more. Rayford asks her to make a bigger light source, since the truck headlights aren't enough. She notices nearby gas tanks, pours out fuel, and tosses in a lighter. A massive fireball erupts, creating a beacon bright enough for Rayford to see. As the plane descends, Chloe jumps back into the truck to drive out of the way, but crashes in the process. The aircraft clips cables during descent, jolting the cabin, but Rayford steadies the controls. With the rear wheels jammed, the landing is rough. The tail and wings scrape hard against the ground, but miraculously, Rayford keeps the plane steady, swerving just in time to avoid Chloe's truck. The plane skids for miles, tearing through obstacles before finally grinding to a stop right in front of a massive gas tank. By sheer luck, it halts before the worst happens. Everyone on board survives. While the fire Chloe started still burns, Hattie deploys the emergency slides and passengers evacuate. Chloe rushes over, embracing both Cameron and her father. Overcome with emotion, Rayford admits he should never have walked away from his family. Chloe gives him both his and Irene's wedding rings. Together, they turn toward the city skyline. Fires rage in the distance, and Cameron quietly observes that it looks like the end of the world. But Chloe, with newfound resolve, insists it's only the beginning. So that's it. Hope you enjoy the story. Subscribe and press the bell icon for more videos.